She smiled for the cameras. She cried in court. She claimed she was a victim, but behind that innocent face was one of the most disturbing female criminals in history. She helped kidnap. She helped torture, she helped kill, and then she walked free. How did Karla Homolka escape justice? Why did the world believe her lies? And how did one woman manipulate an entire legal system? Tonight we expose the chilling truth behind Karla Homolka, a woman who shocked the world with crimes so horrifying they still spark rage decades later. Karla Homolka is not just infamous. She is a symbol of betrayal, manipulation, and failed justice. Known as one half of the notorious Ken and Barbie Killers, Karla played a crucial role in some of Canada's most horrifying crimes. While her partner, Paul Bernardo, was labeled a monster, Karla successfully convinced the world she was merely a helpless victim. But evidence later revealed a far darker truth. Her story is not only about murder, it is about deception, power, and how evil can hide behind tears and charm. Born in 1970 in Ontario, Canada, Karla Homolka appeared to have a stable and ordinary upbringing. She was described as friendly, popular, and intelligent. Nothing about her childhood screamed danger. Unlike many criminals, there were no early signs of extreme violence or trauma. This normalcy would later make her crimes even more shocking. Karla learned early how to please others, how to adapt, and most dangerously, how to manipulate perceptions. This ability would become her most powerful weapon. Everything changed when Karla met Paul Bernardo. Handsome, confident, and charismatic, Paul quickly swept Karla into a passionate relationship. But behind closed doors, Paul was violent, controlling, and sadistic. Instead of leaving, Karla stayed, and eventually she became an active participant in his darkness. Their relationship evolved into a toxic bond fueled by obsession, domination, and shared secrets that would soon turn deadly. One of the most disturbing aspects of Karla Homolka's crimes is the betrayal of her own sister, Tammy Homolka. Karla and Paul drugged Tammy during a so-called experiment, leading to her death. Karla later claimed it was an accident, but evidence suggested her willing participation. This single act revealed the depth of Karla's moral collapse. She was not coerced. She was complicit. And the line between victim and villain was already erased. After Tammy's death, Karla and Paul escalated their crimes. Together they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered young women. What made these crimes especially horrifying was documentation videotapes that showed Karla actively participating, smiling, instructing, and engaging in unspeakable acts. These recordings would later expose her lies and shock the world. She was not a frightened partner. She was an equal participant. Karla Homolka's psychology remains deeply unsettling. Experts describe her as highly manipulative, emotionally detached, and capable of extreme moral compartmentalization. She adopted the role that benefited her most submissive lover, grieving sister, terrified victim. But behind the mask was someone who chose cruelty repeatedly. Her ability to switch identities allowed her to survive, escape punishment, and later rebuild a life something many find unforgivable. When Karla was arrested, she made a deal with prosecutors. She claimed Paul was the mastermind and she was abused into obedience. In exchange for her testimony, she received a shockingly light sentence. At the time, authorities believed her story. But later, after her plea deal was finalized, the videotapes were discovered. These tapes proved Karla was not a victim. She was a willing and enthusiastic participant. The damage was done. Justice had already failed. Karla Homolka was sentenced to just 12 years in prison, while Paul Bernardo received life imprisonment. The public reaction was explosive. Canadians were outraged. Families of victims felt betrayed. The justice system was humiliated. Karla became one of the most hated women in modern history, not just for her crimes, but for escaping true punishment. After serving her sentence, Karla Homolka was released free to live, marry, and raise children. This fact alone continues to haunt the public. How could someone involved in such horror return to normal life? Her release reignited debates about justice, morality, and whether some crimes should permanently remove a person's right to freedom. Karla Homolka's case forced the world to confront uncomfortable truths. Evil is not always loud. It is not always male. Sometimes it cries in court. Sometimes it smiles for cameras. And sometimes it walks free. Her story remains one of the most disturbing examples of how manipulation, charm, and lies can defeat justice, and why society must never judge danger by appearance alone. If this story made you angry, it should have. Because some crimes never truly end. They live on in unanswered questions and broken justice. Subscribe for more women who shocked the world.